This is the most famous war of human history, and while all the powers were trying to win this war, it was won by the Allied powers. The Axis power lost despite their efforts, and one of the many countries whose efforts were being inhumane was catching others' attention. The 1925 Geneva Protocol stated that any use of chemical and biological weapons was not allowed, and one of the other signed parties was not ratifying it. This is Japan, and now what mostly it's known for is their culture of samurais, anime, etc. World War II's Imperial Japan was being known for something else. And now, this is Republic of China under the Imperial Japan, and while several other war crimes were being committed in other parts, this lumber mill was on something else. What was being presented by the regime as a lumber mill was another way to hell, or maybe worse. It was said that a small number of these poor men, women, and children who became Marutas were also mummified alive in total dehydration experiments. They sweated themselves to death under the heat of several hot dry fans. At that, the corpse would only weigh 1/5 of the normal body weight. Led by Surgeon General Shiro Ishii, Unit 731 was a setup in a Japanese puppet state of Manchukuo. It was a biological and chemical research and development unit of Imperial Japanese Army that was responsible for lethal human experimentation and biological weapon manufacturing during the Second World War. The reason why Japanese chose China was simply due to the fact that not only they could separate this experiment from their island, but it also gave them access to as many Chinese people they wanted for the experiment. But not only Chinese national but Soviet, Korean and Mongolian nationals were also the one who suffered these tragic fates. Although estimates vary, but roughly 14,000 people were murdered brutally by these experiments and an estimated of 300,000 people were killed by the experiments of Unit 731. The main purpose of Unit 731 was to prove that biochemical weapons were effective, and that's the reason why they were banned from using after the Geneva Protocol 1925. And thus from the start it had generous support from the government. The experimentation involved infective captives, vivisecting, mastering biological warfare, frostbite testing, force testing, etc. Some of the experiments had nothing to do with advancing the capability of germ warfare or medicine. There is such thing called professional curiosity. What would happen if we did such and such? What medical purpose was served by performing and studying beheadings? None at all. That was just playing around. Professional people too like to play. I won't get into details of experimentations because there are already several videos on them, but only some of them tells the aftermath. After the experimentations, the survivors were killed by potassium cyanides or chloroforms. These were the daily lives of the staff. At the end, with Japan's loss and the end of World War II, Red Army was coming, and Japan hid these crimes by simply executing every prisoner and leaving no documented survivor. The destruction of the building was done to hide any proofs, and some staff were captured by United States of America and Soviet Union. But immunity was granted to them in favor of the information they held. And while for most of the time these crimes were being denied by the government of Japan, in August 2002, the District Court of Tokyo ruled for the first time that Japan indeed engaged in the biological warfare. And in 2018 of April, the name of all 3,607 staff was revealed. These are some of the culprits.